Hello friends, my name is Steph Koza, and it is time to talk about the top 10 movies of 2018! I would just like to preface this video by telling you that these are my personal opinions. I did not see every single movie that came out this year because that's literally impossible. If I don't say a movie that you really liked, sorry, deal with it. We may not agree on things, and that's fine. This is not the best 10 movies of 2018 for the whole world. Like, this is it, written in stone. This is my personal top 10 favorites of 2018. To me, personally. Moi. Okay? Okay? Does everybody understand the rules of the game that we're playing today? Okay, let's do this. I kind of feel like 2018 wasn't a super strong year for movies. Like, there were a few movies that were really good, but like, most of the movies that came out this year were not good. A lot of the movies that I was excited for were a little bit disappointing. I don't know, just not a super good year for movies to me. But whatever, let's talk about the good ones. Also, every movie in my list I have reviewed. I'm not going to give them a full review in this video because that would take forever. If you want to see my review for any of them, they're all on my channel. Feel free to search for them and watch them if you wish. So, let the countdown begin. Number 10, Isle of Dogs. The fact that number 10 is a movie that I still really didn't even truly care for on a huge scale says a lot about 2018. But I did really like Isle of Dogs. I thought the animation style was very creative, something I'd never really seen before, and that's kind of one of the reasons that it's my number 10, because it was new, and it was definitely one of the most refreshing movies of 2018. I thought it was really funny, really quirky, and just a very good story. Like, from beginning to end, I was thoroughly entertained, and I really enjoyed it. Number 9, Annihilation. If you watched my review for this movie, this is probably a little bit of a surprise for you, because my review wasn't super good, and I'm not really sure what happened or what changed. It was just kind of one of those movies that I had to sort of sit on for a while, and I really thought about it, and I had a lot of discussions with people about it, and my perspective sort of shifted, and I really love this movie now. And I have a lot of respect for it, and respect for the people who made it, because I think this film is great. And the reason I didn't give it a great review at first is because it just made me feel really uncomfortable. And when I reflected on that, I realized that that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like a kind of a horror movie, so it should make you feel uncomfortable. If it does, that means it's probably doing a good job at being a horror movie. And I just can't remember any other movie ever making me feel the way that Annihilation made me feel. I was very unsettled. It was a very strange effect that this movie created, and I think that's really impressive that they were able to figure that out and present it in a new way that's never really been done before. Not to mention the story was really cool, and the visuals of the shimmer and this world was so stunning. I just think this movie had a lot of great elements. It was very weird and made me feel really uncomfortable, and I'm still kind of afraid to watch it again because it just made me feel so uncomfortable, but I applaud them on their ability to do that. And I think it was really well made. Number 8, Upgrade. This movie, I was so surprised how much I loved this film. Like, even after I reviewed it, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good, but the more that I thought about it, and even now, I'm like, that movie was so good. It was like everything that Venom should have been. It was a very similar concept, but they did it way better than Venom did, and I just loved it. I thought it was a really great original story, a really entertaining action sci-fi movie with great twists and turns, very unpredictable. Everything about it was just thoroughly enjoyable, especially for a low-budget film. Like, for a low-budget film of this size to be on my top 10 list is crazy to me. Like, it was so good, and it is also just very inspiring for me as a filmmaker to see something like this, which is just like a very low-budget, kind of low-effort sci-fi film, do so well, be so good, is very exciting and very inspiring, and I loved it. I thought it was great. Number 7, Won't You Be My Neighbor. This movie got me right here. I don't know what it is about this movie that just makes me so friggin' emotional. Like, the entire time I was watching it, I was just like crying because Mr. Rogers is just so pure, just the purest human being to ever walk the earth, and we were graced with his presence, and we are so lucky that we had this man enter our lives and impact all of us in such a huge way. And I think that this movie, this documentary, like completely captured his essence and why we love him and what he has done for this world, and I am so grateful for him and for this movie, and I think it was a great tribute to him and his legacy, and I just think it was really well done. I also really admire a documentary when you can tell that they really knew what questions to ask the people they were interviewing. Like, you could just tell they were getting all of the juicy information that they needed, and they just did it so well. And I was just very impressed with everything about this movie and how it was put together and the way it made me feel. I just think it was spectacular. Number 6, A Quiet Place. This was definitely the best horror movie of 2018 and one of the best I've seen in a long time. I felt like it was a very creative idea, a beautiful directorial debut from John Krasinski. I loved seeing his chemistry with Emma Blunt and seeing them together on screen, and I just felt like their performances were so impressive, especially considering there is basically no dialogue in the entire movie. I think that's always very impressive when you can make people feel so much without saying anything. It was just a very enjoyable, very thrilling ride. Like, the entire movie, you're just like on the edge of your seat, and I don't ever remember being in a theater experiencing what I experienced watching this movie, and it's something that I will never forget. Just like the idea of sitting in your seat and being afraid to like even breathe. Like, I couldn't move, I couldn't eat my popcorn. It was very stressful, but it was very cool, and I'll never forget that experience. And I think it was such a great movie, and it was so well done. And I feel a little bit weird about the fact that they're making a sequel, because I think it was just perfect the way that it was, and I'm really scared for what they're gonna do next, but I'm hopeful. But yeah, I really loved A Quiet Place. I also loved all of the metaphor with like parenting and what it means to be a parent and care for your kids, and it was cool to see John Krasinski and Emma Blunt doing that together since they're married and they have kids, and that was kind of the inspiration for the movie. So I think there are just a lot of layers to this film that were very cool, and I really loved it. Number 5, Bohemian Rhapsody. I loved Bohemian Rhapsody so much. And I know there are a lot of conflicting reviews. I know a lot of critics gave this movie some harsh reviews, and I understand its flaws completely. I talked about them in my review. I get everything that is wrong with this movie, but I still loved it. Like, I think a movie is great when it leaves you feeling empowered and just good. Like, I left this movie feeling good and excited, and I was just like singing Queen songs on the ride home, and it's just a very fun, exciting, uplifting, inspiring film. Not to mention, it's a beautiful biopic of Freddie Mercury and of Queen and of their process and of Freddie's life and of their struggles, and it really just gives them and Freddie this sense of humanity where you kind of see past the fact that they're rock legends and they're just people, just guys trying to write music together. And I think it was such a fun movie. I think it was beautifully done. I think despite its flaws, I truly enjoyed it. I actually went back to see it a second time, and that's probably the reason that it's so high on my list now, because the first time I saw it, I did really love it, and I talked a lot about its flaws, and that maybe impacted my memory of the movie. But when I saw it again, I just felt so excited by the whole thing. The entire movie, I was just cheering along, singing along, rooting for Freddie Mercury, rooting for Queen. The whole scene where they completely recreate the Live Aid performance is incredible. Like, the amount of detail they put into that scene, down to the number of Pepsi cups on the piano, like, that was so impressive, so good, so well done. I've never seen a movie where there was a concert or some kind of performance where I truly felt like I was part of the crowd. Like, I felt like I was at Live Aid, and I am so thankful to this movie and to the people who made it for making me feel that, because that is a performance that I would have loved to be at, and I am so envious of everyone who got to see it in real life. But this movie kind of made me feel like I was there, and I thought that was pretty cool. Number 4, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I literally just posted my review of this movie, so I'm not going to get super deep into it, but I loved this movie so much. It was so much fun. I cannot think of any other movie this year that made me have as much fun as this movie did. I had a blast from beginning to end. It's one of those movies that you can watch over and over again, and I just love that we got a new Spider-Man origin story that we've never seen before on screen. Considering we've had so many Spider-Man movies, it was just kind of refreshing to get a new one. And it was one of those movies movies that as soon as it ended, I was like, so can we go see it again? When can we make this happen? Like, I need to watch this again. There was not one wasted character. The animation style was incredible, so refreshing, so unique. The soundtrack was amazing. Listen to the soundtrack. It is mind-blowing. And it had so much heart, which is exactly the way that a Spider-Man movie should be, and I loved it so much. Number 3, Avengers Infinity War. I know people are always like, oh, you can't put like a Marvel superhero movie that high on your list. Like, they're just superhero movies. But this movie was huge. This movie was ridiculous. This is a colossal film. It's the culmination of 10 years of superhero movies. And like, we had been waiting for this movie for so long. I cannot think of one other franchise other than like maybe Star Wars that had such a huge event like this. Like, everyone went to see this movie. Everyone. And everyone was talking about it afterwards, which was such a fun experience, just to be like, did you see Infinity War? Oh my god, what are your thoughts about Infinity War? And it was just like, everyone was talking about it. It wasn't just like comic book nerds or movie buffs. It was everybody, and that was really cool. This movie like literally brought the world together, and maybe also brought some people apart, but it's fine. It was really cool. It's one of those experiences that I will 100% remember for the rest of my life. I'm gonna be super old and telling my grandchildren about the time I went to see Infinity War and how it just wrecked the entire world. Not to mention, this movie is just very impressive. Like, the amount of people who worked on this film, the amount of hours of labor that went into it. Say what you will about comic book movies, this film is damn impressive. I don't care what you say, the amount of work that went into this 100% needs to be commemorated. And that is why it's at my number 3. I also saw this movie more times than any other film in theaters, which definitely says something, so there you go. Number 3, Infinity War. Number 2, Mandy. I loved Mandy so much. I want everyone to see this movie. This is definitely one of those films that I feel like a lot of people didn't see, and it was very in and out. It was like, I don't really understand why. It was in theaters for like literally one day and then immediately went to like streaming. And it also came out on DVD like 2 days later. It was very weird. I don't really know why. I didn't really look into the production of this movie, but it was a great movie. It was so much fun. It was absolutely wild, completely bonkers. It is just Nicolas Cage wielding a chainsaw in this heavy metal grindhouse revenge flick, and I loved every single second of it. And at number 1, A Star is Born. It took me a really long time to pick my number 1. I was kind of torn up between a few movies, but this movie is probably the one that resonated with me the most. And everyone picks their number 1 movie based on different things, like maybe based on its filmmaking merit alone, or on how it impacted you as a person, or whatever. But for me, this movie resonated with me more than any other movie of 2018. I just had a huge emotional response to it, and I can't even really think of any other movie that hit home as much as this one did for me. It was kind of similar to La La Land, the experience of watching this for me personally, just because it's very much about following your dreams and being a dreamer and shooting for the stars even though everyone tells you that you can't, and the concept of failure and of working just ridiculously hard for what you love. And I just feel like that concept was beautifully done in this movie, not to mention everything else in the movie that also happens, that was also incredible. I just think it was 100% a beautiful film from beginning to end. I think Bradley Cooper did an incredible job, especially since this is the first movie he's ever directed. Like, that blows my mind. Not to mention his performance was also incredible, and Lady Gaga's performance was the best performance of 2018. I'm just gonna say it right there. She was incredible. The music in this movie is so beautiful. I listen to the soundtrack and literally cry when I listen to it. That is how intense it is. And maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for musicals. I'm a musician, so any story about that just kind of resonates with me. But I don't know, man. This movie was just a ride, and it took me down, took me under. And that's that. Those are my top 10 favorite movies of 2018. I do have a few honorable mentions, actually kind of a long list of honorable mentions, so I'm just gonna whip right through them. My honorable mentions go to Hereditary, 8th Grade, Black Panther, Mission Impossible Fallout, Sorry to Bother You, Bad Times at the El Royale, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and Anna and the Apocalypse. I also kind of want to give an honorable mention to Black Mirror Bandersnatch. Technically listed as a show, but if you've watched it, it's more like a movie, and it was just very impressive because of the fact that it was so experimental and new and unlike anything I've ever seen before, and I just think it deserves some sort of mention in this video. So there you go. I'm gonna review that in full very soon, and I will talk about everything about it that blew my mind. Also, just so you know, there are a few movies I haven't seen. Like, I didn't see Green Book yet, I haven't seen Beautiful Boy, I haven't seen Searching, which a lot of people are talking about and putting on their top 10 lists. Also, still haven't seen Paddington 2, which is the #1 movie, like, as far as ratings and critics go. It is the #1 100% certified fresh movie of 2018. Completely blows my mind. I still don't understand it. I just need to watch the movie and then maybe I'll get it. But just so you know, there are some movies that I haven't seen this year. It's hard to see every movie. There are a lot of them. But there you have it. There's my list. I would love to know what you guys picked for your top 10 best movies of 2018. Maybe there's a movie that you saw that I didn't and I would love to know about, because then maybe I can go see it. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and subscribing to my channel and watching all of my reviews in 2018. It means the world to me. Your support is just amazing, incredible, blows my mind. Thank you for continuing to come back. And here's to another year of great movies, hopefully even better movies. Thank you guys for watching. I am Steph Koza, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!